Hey there, toy collector friends and Star Wars fans alike. In particular, this time around, Star Wars The Acolyte, which is one of the new Star Wars Disney Plus series that recently aired. We're back with another look at some of the retro collection figures. They are, to be honest, the figures I'm most connected to because they are pretty much a literal representation of the figures I had growing up in the 70s and 80s, so that's what attracts me to them. I'm not actually really collecting any of the other Star Wars Acolyte figures, be it Black Series or Vintage Range or anything like that. I am literally, when it comes particularly to box sets like this, with the exception of some special editions or things that really capture my attention, I'm only really looking at the Acolyte. At the retro collection when it comes to the Acolyte, or indeed the majority of the other TV series or films that we have. I was surprised when I saw this being released, perhaps some of you were as well. We have had, at the time of recording, a couple of Star Wars, the original film A New Hope releases, giving us 12 figures from that range, and a Return of the Jedi box. We've also seen a sort of 50-50 split box with Revenge of the Sith and Attack of the Clones, which has given us 3 figures from one and 3 figures from the other. And then we have this one, which again, it's everything you'd expect from the retro collection, including the very unfortunate sort of weathering on the box, which is, I just continue to say, is utterly unnecessary and gives it a very unfortunate appearance. Contains all 6 figures. I continue to think that this is actually a really quite good value for money range, but of course you do have to want the figures and you do have to feel something for the figures, and I appreciate that the Acolyte was a bit divisive as a series because some people really sort of embraced it as part of quite historical Star Wars lore, and other people have gone, that ain't my Star Wars. And you know what, everyone is entitled to their opinion and to what they enjoy, and that's, you know, absolutely how it should be. None of that detracts from the fact that I like retro collection figures, and I was quite content to get this because from a collection point of view, I'd like to have whatever's going in this line. So here we have the lineup. I'm not going to attempt to, well, I'm going to attempt it, unfortunately, but I've got a horrible feeling I'm going to get some of these names hideously wrong. Mother Anisea here. Then we've got Jedi Knight Yord Fandar here. We've got May as an assassin. We've got Jedi Master Sol. We've got Osha Anisea. As you can see, they're identical twins. And we've got the Jedi Padawan Jeki Lon. I'm hoping I've got those names right. If I haven't, you can correct me phonetically in the comments, and I'll absolutely welcome it. Before I go around the box, talking about engagement, if you could like the video, that would be fantastic. Similarly, if you don't mind dropping a subscription to the channel, it's completely free to you, and it really helps small channels like mine. Tiny little click, but it makes such a difference, and it will really help me get to my next subscriber milestone. But that's entirely up to you, no pressure whatsoever, so I'll carry on with what we're looking at. So Star Wars The Acolyte, those are the products. Here are some cast shots, so you can see them in the costumes that are being represented here in the figures. Very nice, these two. Bottom of the box is words and things don't eat the small attachments. Back of the box is the same as the front of the box, as we've come to know. This one is still no, which side? Yeah, so I've already undone it to sort of make this as smooth a transition as is humanly possible. But you know, you live in hope that's how it will play out. Already I can see, and I know this, I know it's coming. These figures come complete with more weathering. I'm just going to lay them down here while I put the box itself there. Trying to do it so I don't actually see them in real life until I get to sort of stand them up for you all. So let's move them over here. And they're in no particular order by my reckoning. And the first one we have is Osha. So there we have the standard sort of carded pack. It has got the hanging doodah, which is my technical name, pressed out, but it hasn't gone, so it's still in there, which is a nice touch. Again, I'm keeping these carded. She is complete with a couple of accessories. So she's got a pistol there, and I think that's the droid that she had, which is actually quite nicely detailed considering how small it is. And just for comparison, that's the top end of my little finger, so that's how small it is. But it is, it's in keeping with the retro collection, which is the old 1970s, 1980s, I think 3 3/4 size figures. So there's not a huge amount to be incorporated. But that said, I do quite like the sculpt. It does look like the character, as much of any of these ever did, possibly more than some of them did. There's the reverse, just so you can see, and again, I'm presuming, and I'll just double check before we continue, yep, from what I can see, yep, all of these have the same back, so I'm not going to waste any of your time by giving you the backs to all of these. But yeah, so that's our first one out of the box. Let's see what we've got coming next. We have May, so they're sticking together. It's nice. I've avoided commenting on the nasty sticker. Apparently they are now being made to be easy peel and easy removed. I'm still not going to try it because I don't want to damage the cards, but they are a frustration. Again, nice character picture there. Everything intact around the edges, and the figure there coming with 2 dagger accessories. I can't see anything else in there accessory wise, and a vinyl cape, so a real throwback there, the vinyl cape. An interesting observation, you may remember some of these they used to come with a little folded up bit of paper in the bottom of these, which told you not to eat the accessories. That now comes as a standalone. You just get one of them as a standalone within the box itself. I may have to rethink how I'm positioning these. Apologies. But I'll deal with that in a second. Calamities. I don't know why I'm leaving the box in, to be honest, but let's just get through the figures first. Next up we have the Jedi Master Sol. He's got a soft goods cape, and frustratingly it's wrapped around him so tightly that we can't actually see. That's genius. We can't actually see what the figure looks like. There's a glimpse through there, so that's a fat lot of good, that is. He's got a blue handheld saber, very much in the style of the old 80s releases that had the handheld sabers. There's the character shot, so ironically he's the first one that sort of takes that position. You're going to tilt. Dear oh dear, just got to get the right balance. Interesting to see the mix of soft goods and the vinyl cape that Assassin May is wearing. Another soft goods here with Jedi Padawan Jeki Long, and he's got soft goods wrapped around his figure. I think that looks a bit more of a traditional Padawan type costume. Again, we can't see really too much because of the cape. Then we have a nice, if lime green is your opinion of nice, a nice handheld lightsaber there. But yeah, looks quite similar. In fact, the horns on the figure's head slightly more pronounced, maybe not, than they are on the character. But I suppose that's because he's got scruffy hair, and it's harder for the toy to manage the scruffy hair. So you can actually see those horns quite protractedly there. And interestingly, some of the makeup detailing on the side of the face, if you can see here, isn't really, from what I can see, replicated on the figure. It's just that sort of intensely smoky eye makeup there, but without some of that almost Trill-esque, for Star Trek fans watching, makeup that's applied there. So that may be a bit disappointing. That's weird. I've only got one more figure, and there should be another one. I've got a feeling it must be trapped in the box. So here we have Mother Anisea, Again, this is a very detailed figure with those wonderfully blocky, oh, and this one has got the paper underneath the figure. That's an interesting mix-up. Very blocky legs, very 1970s, 1980s figure, blocky. Yeah, very detailed. Nice use of the hair there wrapped around. Yeah, what can I tell you? It captures. It's a very neat capturing of that character we're seeing there. Again, I'm just trying to see whether the makeup on the face tallies with the makeup on the picture, particularly those sort of circles on the forehead on the picture. I can't see them on the face of the character figure there. But again, and I'm trying to not be mean here, but this is the retro collection, and if we think back to what we had in the retro collection, then we should, in the original retro collection, those of us who are old enough to remember, I'm just going to create bedlam there, try and rescue whatever is left inside the box, because there must be one left inside the box, and there is. That's a huge relief, I can tell you. It is Jedi Knight Yord Fandar, and there he is doing some Jedi hero posing, and again soft goods wrapped around the body, a yellow lightsaber, gloved hands. Again, we can't see too much, but from what we can see, the colour scheme does suggest it's a sort of standard Jedi Knight outfit, so they've captured that, and they've not got a bad likeness, I guess, for there. And again, no more paper underneath. Right, let me see if I can't just assemble these a little better around here, so we can see how many of these we can get in shot. I do quite like them. I can hear you all swearing and tussing because they're falling over. Believe me, on the inside I'm doing exactly the same. But I have to say, I get that they are a little, you might think they're a little simplistic, you might think they're a little dated for what they are, and you might be a little right, but ultimately this is, and those of us who lived it know, this is a very fair representation. Again, in some cases I think they're still better than we got back in the 80s and the back end of the 70s, with some of the aspects of the quality. I think the challenge they have is actually to almost dial down the quality, if you know what I mean, to give us this sort of almost bare bones fundamental action figures that do actually give us that taste of the period that they're supposed to represent. For me, it really works. Again, I wasn't so attached to the Acolyte that I wanted to get two box sets of this, so that I could have one to keep carded and one to open for posability purposes. I may reconsider that. The only reason because again, a lot of people say, well, the Acolyte's not selling well, so it might go on sales soon, in which case it may be even better value. So I'll keep an eye out for that, because I do want to populate my HasLab Cantina, which I know is vintage collection, not retro collection, but from a scale point of view, I think I can probably manage. I appreciate it won't be as articulated to sit in some of the chairs and things, but I'll manage. But I really want to say that I personally appreciate this retro collection and what it's doing and what it's giving the fans, especially those fans who aren't in it for a long-term investment to make money for the future. Because back when we were collecting these in the 70s and the 80s, there was no, certainly in my mind and most of my friends' minds, there was no sense we were going to be keeping these for 20, 30 years on card and pristine, so that they'd end up being worth an absolute fortune. We were playing with them, and because, you know, kind of weirdly, that's what toys are for, to be played with, but don't quote me on that. So the fact that, you know, we had these almost disposable little figures was fantastic. I call them disposable because I think that was probably the intention, but I didn't dispose of them. I kept the cards because I loved the photos and the stuff, the whole ambience of it, and the figures. I cherished them until many of them were lost or sold for stupid amounts of money by my parents at car booth sales. So, but I've let that go. You can tell I'm not bitter. So it's been a nice way for those of us who just want that particular gap in our nostalgia-filled childhood restocked, that we can get those Star Wars classics. I never had the original Princess Leia figure. Now I do, because but I appreciate it's not the original, but as far as I'm concerned, it's as close as I will ever get to having an original again without buying something online. But it's lovely because it's packaged beautifully and it takes me back to where I want to be. You know, that part of my childhood which I attach to being safe, secure, playing with some of my favourite things, engaging with some of the best friends I've ever had, etc. And I think these open a bit of a gateway to that and build upon what we have. And that's great, because that's kind of what we would want toys to do. We want them to nurture our imagination, develop our imagination, and not cause us to lose our imagination. And I think that's one of the things I see when I get caught up in some conversations, and I'm using the word conversation loosely, with some people who have, quite rightly, the view that modern day toys should be X, Y, and Z. But if they are as X, Y, and Z as some people want them to be, then the element of imagination almost goes away, because they can get into dynamic poses, they can do this, they can move on their own, they can speak. You almost don't need to input anything of you into any playing with them. Whereas these have got at best 5 points of articulation, and don't do anything apart from sort of sit there, little lumps of plastic, no offence. But you know, we have to invest of ourselves into these to breathe that sort of playtime life into the characters that we have before us. So anyway, that's my little internal rant about why I think retro collection figures are a really good idea. I think they're not cheap, and it's not cheap getting these box sets. But you know what? I really love this concept of the box sets, especially from a collector point of view. And you know what? Like anything that people collect, if you don't want to collect it, you don't have to. You don't have to. But you also don't have to pour cold water all over people who do want to collect it, because it's their choice, it's their money, it's their choice. If they were stealing money off you to pay for it, then you'd have a lot to say about it. But if they're not, if it's their money and they're enjoying themselves, well, amen to that. So and you know, I'm not suggesting any of you do that, but you've probably seen on certain social media pages or comments, or where you have other YouTubers looking at various things, there is an element at times of people wanting to sort of go, yeah, but these are rubbish, these aren't as good as the Black Series, or these new Transformers aren't as good as G1, despite the fact that actually the new Transformers can do all the things that G1s couldn't do. And again, we had to rely on our imagination to do it, whereas now we can have Transformers toys that do all of that, and we compose them dynamically. So I'm not contradicting myself. I think it's great that things move with the times, and we have much greater engineering investment in some of the toys. But by the same token, I don't want to lose sight of where we've come from. And this represents a very important part of toy evolution and the development of my imagination. And some of that imagination and creativity I now put into other stuff. And as some would say, the circle is complete. Anyway, rant over. Do you like the retro collection? I'm not asking you if you like the Acolyte. It's very divisive. I am asking you if you like the retro collection. Do you pick up the retro collection? Are you looking forward to more Star Wars, more Return of the Jedi? Frankly, some Empire Strikes Back retro figures in those little box sets, because I am. I'd really like us to complete all of those before we start branching out into other aspects of the story. But that said, I'm quite happy that they are. I'm quite happy that the line is thriving, but personally I would like to see more of the original trilogy, then the new sequels, prequels and sequels, if we're going down that line, and they've already done it to an extent. I start to see more of that, and then okay, let's embrace some of the Obi-Wan Kenobi stuff, some of the Acolyte, some of the Ahsoka, and probably Andor as well. Why not? And possibly Skeleton Crew. I have not seen any retro stuff for Skeleton Crew yet, but maybe that's somewhere down the line. What are you most looking forward to seeing or hoping to see in future retro collection releases? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you for spending the last 20 minutes or so with me. Thank you for having a look at these figures with me. As I mentioned earlier on, it'd be great if you could drop a subscription to the channel. It really helps me get to my next milestone. And if not, just a like to the video, that can help as well. You've been a wonderful audience. I've been the Triple TC, that's the Time Traveling Toy Collector, and this has been the Acolyte Retro Collection box set, possibly first box set for the series, featuring 6 of the key characters from that mini-series. Thank you very much. It just remains for me to say that things of beauty really are toys forever. I look forward to seeing you in a future or a past video. Take care, bye for now.